Hey, y'all, this is Ron and Dale Martin Jr., and I gotta tell you, man, this Free Radio thing is quite awesome. And since I spent all my money on steering wheel covers and Marlboros, I need you guys to donate $1 over at Patreon. That site is patreon.com/Radio Free Radio. If you ain't heard about it, you need to get on over there and give your $1.
We doggies
On RadioFRadio.com.
What is reality? Reality is what we believe to be true about the nature of our surroundings. But how do we come to decide that true nature? Do we conceive it completely on our own? Or do other devices gently sway our thoughts onto a pre-decided path? This is the hard question we must all ask ourselves as free humans on this planet. Who sculpts your reality?
Reality Wednesday nights, 9/11 on RadioFRadio.com.
Radio Free Radio. Radio Free Radio. Radio Free Radio.
Beautiful. Let's get it on. Who are these guys? It's my theme music. Every good hero should have some.
Welcome in, here on Radio for Radio, go tell a friend. Went to Rail and Georgia, bring them in. We got so many things to talk about, so let's begin. Putting a highlight on local life on Thursdays, 8 at night. Hope you feeling alright, cause tonight we gon' get you right, yeah, show you right. We gon' laugh, joke, talk, rinse, repeat. We gon' keep it real chill, let's get deep. Ain't no topic off limits, no knock off a gimmick. 10 times out of 9, you'll be fine when we finish. We get talented, hard to get artists to target that audience. Talk accomplishments of those who get no acknowledgement. The studio be hot in the summertime, studio be cold in the winter. And though the chair a bit dusty, it be a throne we enter. Have a seat with us, chocolate milk and waffles, come and eat with us. 2 whole hours, turn your speakers up. And before we get it started, just repeat it thus. It's on chocolate milk and waffle show. It's the chocolate milk and waffle show. We got George, we got Terrell, we got milk, that's chocolate. We got beautiful buttery waffles, just the way your mama used to make them.
crazy, crazy, crazy show. That's what it is. Okay, whatever. I can't.
And here we are, Internet. You are listening to the Chocolate Milk and Waffle Show on RadioFRadio.com. Did you miss us last week? Because we certainly missed you. It looks like I might be flying solo this evening, but that's okay. Terrell is with us in spirit, and when he's not on the show, he usually calls in at some point in the evening anyway. So we're going to start this episode like we start every episode with some local happenings. And over at the venue, as always, on Monday nights from 7 to 11, we have our historic open mic. Tuesdays, Marlon Hargrave does Performers Playground, where you can come out and get notes and tips on your performance, whether you be a comedian, an actor, or a stage poet. The notes are always pertinent to what you're doing. We have paint nights on the last Friday of every month. This coming Saturday, we have our very first all stand-up comedy special put together by Lamont Ferguson. We also have, what else do we have? On the 29th, we have Things That Go Bump at the Venue, our Halloween event for artists. There will be a costume contest, different Halloween-related features, a independent mini horror film festival. It's going to be a lot of fun, so come out and check us out for that. Find us on venue-35.com to keep up with everything we've got going on. And on Saturday, October 22nd, I will be featuring at the Bioliffusion 3-year anniversary at Sandler Center, along with some other really amazing artists, and that is put together by Marquita Bianca and Terrell Mercer, my partner. And I think that about covers everything we've got going on in the community-wise. And our guest this week is Lisa Kendrick. Lisa is a feminist, a poet, an educator, and we will be talking about all those things, and who knows, maybe even a little bit of Halloween, since we both have a penchant for All Hallows. So how are you, Lisa? Thank you for being on the show.
Good, thank you. Good to be here.
Good. How have you been?
Pretty good. Busy.
Yeah. Being a mother of twin girls and an educator here in Hampton Roads, I'm sure you stay pretty busy.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you and you being an educator. What made you decide that that's what you wanted to do? You wanted to be. At what point in your life did you say, I want to teach?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it wasn't a plan. I graduated with a degree in English and communication.
Okay.
And broadcasting communication was what I thought I wanted to go into. And I think my first job offer was just ridiculous, like $13,000 a year or something. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. And I tried a couple different things. I tried retail management for a while, and it took me years before I could go to a mall after that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and people kept saying, oh, you're getting that major, you're going to be a teacher, you're going to be a teacher. And I'm like, no, I don't think I want to do that. And one day I was like, nothing else is working out. Let me get a job subbing and see. And so I started subbing here in Hampton, actually.
Okay.
Ended up doing it for 3 years while I worked on my educational curriculum degree at ODU.
Very nice.
So, and then once I started, I loved it. So just kind of, I guess I fell into it. It wasn't planned.
And what do you teach?
I teach English.
Okay.
And I'm certified to teach English and history, speech and drama. I've taught all of them.
You have a favorite?
Yeah, mostly I've always taught English, secondary. Okay. And I love teaching English. I've taught all grades from 6 through 12. 12 is my favorite, British Lit.
Okay.
So
nice. So you're also a poet.
Yes.
And you've done several features here around Hampton Roads. How long have you been writing?
I wrote on and off my whole life, but it's not always been my focus. So it's just kind of always, every now and then I would just write down poems and I would keep them. But life usually got in the way, I just kind of lived from moment to moment and didn't really think much about it. And then probably about 7 or so years ago, I started going to open mics in the area. And that was when there were only like 2 or 3 open mics, maybe a month, if that, and felt really inspired. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to pull out all my poems. And one summer I had written, I write prose as well. I had written a book, like a novel for young adults. And, I was like, well, let me just start getting all this together. And I did. Of course, then I got pregnant with twins. So that delayed for a little while.
Yeah. So how do those two worlds balance? How do you balance between your writing and you have a blog too, don't you?
No.
Can we talk about why on air? That was a very suspicious laugh, which is why I asked.
Well, when I first, I started a blog probably those years ago, 7 or so years ago when I first got into the poetry scene, and I used a pseudonym. I don't know, partially because I just felt like it was safer. I wasn't that familiar with doing it. But
can I ask what the pseudonym was?
Yes, it was Riona Berry.
Okay. And
then once I became a mom, and I was still a teacher, and I was had all these things going, and I was like, I don't like having to split myself. I don't want to use a pseudonym. I want to be myself. But unfortunately, when you work in fields in which you're in the public, I mean, it might be for the government or public servants of any sort, there are certain things that if they are published in written word, they are protected, but they are not always protected on blogs. As far as there's a freedom of speech that protects you if it's printed, but that doesn't always cover things that are online as much. So sometimes one has to be careful what one says. And since I'm very liberal and I work in a very conservative area,
yeah, I can imagine that can kind of cause a conflict of interest of sorts. So the pseudonym, why? Say it again.
The Riona Berry.
Riona Berry. Mm-hmm. That sounds like something the doctor tells you to take because it's good for your memory or something. Try those Riona berries. They're high in acai.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with that?
I just thought Riona was a cool name. I think I wrote a book that maybe that she was a lead character or something.
Okay.
And then Barry is my my maternal grandmother's maiden name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But great, thanks for the thought that it's a berry. It's a special berry.
That's probably that's probably the South Park's fault. They're on this thing now here lately with these new episodes where they have these thing called member berries. It's a satire on how everybody is so nostalgia driven all of a sudden, and we're all gravitate. I think a lot of that is probably due to the fact that nostalgia reminds us of a time when things were simpler and things were better and things were okay, and things are so very not okay right now that subconsciously we find ourselves reaching towards these things. But in the show, there are actual berries that you can buy at the store, but they talk and they say, "Remember Goonies? Remember Jaws? Oh yeah, remember Jaws? Remember?" And then when you eat them, you feel better about all the stuff that's going on in the world.
Right.
It's actually quite clever and genius.
It is funny, yeah.
But it says a lot about what's going on out here now.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I guess that's probably why your pseudonym made me think of actual berries. Blame South Park, Matt and Trey. It's their fault. So how long have you been teaching?
19 years.
Wow, that's a long time. That's a good lot of
Yes.
experience. How do you feel? So you've seen the generational shifts with our kids.
Yes, and I've taught in several different states, and I taught outside of the country, Puerto Rico, for 2 years. So I've seen a lot of differences, and yes, it's very different. When I first started teaching, there were no standardized testing wasn't as prolific at the time period, and I've taught at a couple of private schools as well, so that's different. That's not always affected by that anyway. You know, when I first started teaching, I guess the things that I expected the kids to do and the way that we did them is very different than now. Like things like, you know, I expected my kids to write in cursive and ink, you know, things like that you can't expect kids to do now. I found that kids read more than they do now. It's harder to get kids to read. And there's a lot of reports that's been done.
Which is odd considering they're glued to screens all the time.
Yeah, but there are a lot of reports that the screens, even if they're typing on the screens, because it's short and they're always going from one text to the other. And I mean, when I text or I'm on social media or whatever, I'm doing multiple things at once. And so it's not the same as like sitting there reading.
I gotcha.
And so that it's
that makes
literally
sense.
their brains are, you know, trained for things that are moving around.
Like
And
doing
so
two sit-ups as opposed to an actual workout.
difficult. Exactly. It's
Gotcha.
difficult to actually focus. And I've seen a certain level of demonization of education in, you know, in politics and things that, you know, sort of paint education as not necessary and bad. And, you know, like when I was in school, it was embarrassing if you were dumb and you failed. Like you didn't want to do that. But, you know, even at least for the last decade or so, you know, that's cool. Like you're cool. That's fine if you fail. Like it's not, you know, they laugh about it. It's not, doesn't have that bad stigma. So, of course, education and grades are not just, I mean, grades aren't just about education. Education, I said that wrong. Education isn't just about grades, you know.
Correct, right.
But
the grades, like even when I was in school, I always kind of felt like you could be an average intelligence and turn in all your work and be a straight A student. And or you could be an absolute genius, never do your homework and fail miserably.
Yep.
So the grades were more so a measure of your work ethic as opposed to your
true.
actual intelligence.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially when there was homework assigned and you could pretty much look up the answers in the back of the book. I'm not a parent, so I don't have children in the school system. I have a sister who has 3 sons, so I have 3 nephews on her side. And her and I briefly recently talked about education, and she says that they don't assign homework anymore. That it's not a thing. But can you elaborate on that?
So homework has always been questionable. When I was a student, I hated homework. Did not do homework. And what I did do, I would do it like the 5 minutes before class or whatever. But not every kid can keep up like that and do that. Right. So the deal with homework, there have been lots of studies. Of course, old school, like when I was in school, you know, like you gave homework and whatever. Most of the studies that I've seen show that homework works when at the younger grades, like when they're younger and they're learning basics, like learning their multiplication tables, learning basic grammar, things that are systematic, and the only way that you can learn them is by repetitively doing them.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Okay.
Yeah, and so those are really the only things that lend themselves to something like that. Outside of that, there really have been no proven benefits of assigning homework. The entire time that I've been a teacher, and I really feel like most teachers who understand education and understand learning think the same way. I've never assigned homework. We have X, Y, and Z that I want to be able to get to during the semester. And the reasons why may vary. Depends upon the grade level, depends upon, if it's American Lit or British Lit or whatever. I look at my job as I'm preparing these students for the real world, which might be a job right out of high school or might be university. Right. And so there are certain things, like certain authors and certain pieces, works of literature that if you don't know them, you're not in on the jokes, like on movies and
right.
cartoons and, all sorts of things that we, literacy isn't just about being able to read. It's about understanding our society. And a lot of that comes from literature. So that's how I've always looked at my job, is it's my job to make sure that they can understand those things and that they can also communicate in a written word. So they
right.
need some grammar, obviously, some vocabulary ability. And so, every school you work at has a different curriculum that they have set for you. And so within that, I sort of add in creativity and I add in, okay, these are the main things that they need. This is what we're going to do. And then we do those things. And sometimes they may have to finish them at home. I don't look at it as these are homeworks and this is whatever. It's a learning process. And so I'm sure some kids who have had me never had homework, and some kids did. It just depended on.
I remember there were times when I was growing up where literally I would be at the kitchen table for hours doing homework. Middle school, hours and hours doing homework, up late trying to get assignments done, especially when it got to the point where you had a different teacher for every class. Because at least in elementary school, when you had one teacher teaching you everything, she kind of knew the workload she was giving you. Once you had multiple teachers, Mr. Wadsworth teaching math didn't give a shit that Miss Schofield assigned you an hour worth of science homework. He wants you to handle the math. So now you have 6 classes, and each one gave you an hour's worth of work.
Yeah, that's
it was
terrible.
nightmarish.
Yeah.
And I was one of those kids that could kind of just zip through it. But there were plenty who couldn't. And it affects them, I think, much more negatively than maybe the smart kid who just decides to just not do it at all.
Yeah. And that's what makes them hate school and makes them hate learning. And you shouldn't hate learning. You shouldn't hate education.
Right.
You look at little kids, and pretty much every little kid in kindergarten and first grade, they want to go to school. They're excited and they love school. And somewhere along the way, they lose that. And they lose that, in standardized testing. They lose that in teachers who I think get lost in trying to give them information. Like when we first started the public education system, education was seen as kids were these empty vases and you were supposed to fill them with your knowledge.
Right.
And, very quickly, certainly earlier than they implemented it in school, they learn, a lot of things about how our brain learns and how our attention spans are short. And so we need to do things for shorter periods of time and all these methodologies. But it's slow sometimes in making its way into programs and things like that. But
so as an educator with children of your own, do you plan to put your girls into the public school system when they come of age?
Absolutely. They're already in the public school system.
They? I don't know how old they are. I'm sorry. So what grade are they in then?
Kindergarten.
Oh, so they just started. They're so cute. For those of you who don't know Lisa's daughters, they're like Facebook stars. They are so cute. Taz will agree with me. They are so cute. These girls are adorable. But so knowing that there are things that the curriculum perhaps doesn't touch on, are these, I imagine these would be things that you would take care of at home?
Yeah.
Is there a fear of parents who perhaps aren't necessarily educators teaching at home?
What do you mean, a fear?
Okay, how can I word this? Do you suppose there's a danger if when a parent decides, okay, well, they're not teaching this, this, and this in the school, so I'm going to to teach it at home? Like okay, for example, my sister is trying to teach my nephews how to do math the way we learned how to do it, whereas in school they're teaching the Common Core. And she doesn't get Common Core, so she's having that struggle.
Oh, you can't confuse a kid.
Because she can't help. She feels like she can't help her kids with their homework because she hasn't learned it.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I can't do math at all, so that's
Yeah.
that's scaring me to think yeah, but it is confusing for them when you teach them two different ways. So teach them to do something different than the way that they're taught to do it at school when they're young is probably more confusing, more damaging than it is. I look at homework like this, and I've heard horror stories from other parents who have had like elementary school. I mean, well, obviously what their kids were in elementary school about, oh, the hours I'm going to spend and I'm going to have to sit at the table with my two girls. And I was like, no, I won't. Because if the thing is, homework isn't for parents. If it's something that these little kids can't do on their own, then they're not going to do it. I mean, I guess that's really part of the problem is mommy will be at the school and I will demand to see the methodology. And, you know what I mean? I will not be fun at all. And actually, when they went to pre-K, they had a teacher that would send home homework. And then she would give them a frowny face if they didn't do it.
What?
Yes. And I was irate.
And they're like, what, 3, 4 years old at this age?
They were 4, yeah. I was irate. Wow. I was not happy. Yeah, I sent her an email.
That's how you build up a kid's self-confidence, by giving them a frowny face.
Yeah, I said, how dare you? You know, I mean, and of course they were like little things, but like, they're 4, so you have to help them. They can't even hardly get into their book bag, you know.
Right.
So it was like looking at pictures or looking at, you know, sight words or whatever. And as a single parent who works, I couldn't always get around to that. Right. Plus, I'm kind of like, it's pre-K. So I was not happy. I was like, this will stop. And their teacher now, they do bring, because obviously learning at home is important. Although I think reading is probably the most important skill that you can give your child is having them read books.
Yeah, the ability to take in knowledge on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so my daughters have always, like, even when they were 3, when they were tiny, I would read them a little story and ask them to explain to me what happened in the story. You know, so I was building comprehension from the time they were old enough to understand what I was saying. So it's funny because they'll talk to like their grandmother on Skype or something, and they'll tell her all about like the story that we just got through reading, and you know they'll get it right. So I honestly feel like those are the main things that you can do with your kid at home is helping them learn those skills like reading and basic math, so that then they're stronger, you know, at school. But I think learning should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it should be about creativity. And so I'm always trying to bring in creativity and think of different ways to do things.
Yeah, with some kids, you got to trick them into learning something. They have to not know that they're learning. You know what I mean?
And I get students, I have my whole career that maybe other teachers have never been able to get to do work that I can get to do work because, you know, I always talk to them like they're mm-hmm. adults, you know, little young adults, and just say, you know, I explain things like how it is, and I've always been really good. It's just instinctual, figuring out what it is that they don't understand and why they're not doing it. And you know, I can usually get, I mean, every now and then you get a student that just refuses, but I can usually get students to work and talk to me, you know, and figure out. And the other thing too that's different, and I know that not all teachers are this way, I'm really flexible. So like, if we are doing one sort of activity and they come to me and say, hey, can I just write a poem for this? Like, you know, that's what I love doing. Then I'll, you know, change the activity for them. And I'll be like, okay, no, that's fine if that's what you want to do, you know, and so I adjust. Mm-hmm. And of course I have certification as teaching English as a second language. And that's what a lot of that is about, is finding ways to modify lessons and to reach them so that they feel comfortable and they can communicate in the way that they want to communicate. But those same skills work for everyone, for anyone who's learning.
Right. So you've taught everything from, you said 6th grade through 12th, mm-hmm. English and history.
Mm-hmm, mostly English, yeah.
What, in both then, what part of, like when that unit's coming up, mm-hmm. you start getting excited. What part of the curriculum is that?
Oh, British literature, all of British literature.
Yeah.
Yes.
You like British lit?
Yes.
What is it about British literature you like so much?
Those are always the authors that I read and everything. Like I think one day I was trying to name all the authors I had read, and I was like, wait. I was trying to think, oh, that's American. I'm like, no, that's a British author. Well, he's American. No. I've taught American literature nearly every year I've taught English, sometimes multiple times. And I'm not a big fan of American literature.
Okay.
Because it's very simple and straightforward. And then, of course, you cover like all the Revolutionary War stuff and government documents and journal entries. And then finally you get into the Romantic era, which at least has like some amazing poets. I love some of the poets. And, of course, Poe is in that era. And you have the Transcendentalists. And that's pretty cool. But that's really the only section that is really... Because then what happens is we have American Gothic, but it's this dark... sad, depressing. And in British Lit, because it spans a much larger time period, you can see more of an evolution of literature as far as, it starts out with Beowulf. I mean, who doesn't love Beowulf?
Yeah, Beowulf's pretty great.
And Grendel, and,
Like, I remember when we read Beowulf in school, and I was like, what? Okay. This is actually kind of cool. Like, wow, all right.
And have you read Grendel?
It's been, long enough ago to say where I haven't read it. I can... To be honest, it's been that long because I was literally in school. I read it when it was assigned, but yeah, I remember like Beowulf. What is this? And it was like it's a long poem. I was like, oh, and this is before I really had an actual love for poetry. I didn't really gain my love for poetry until I was well out of high school, and I've never I love to draw. I love to paint. I'm not good, but I enjoy it. But when I was taking art in school, it wasn't fun. I didn't like being told what to draw. And I had a really, really good art teacher when I finally got into high school named Mr. Vukolich, who would give you the vaguest instructions for an assignment. Vague. Super vague. And that basically meant make sure that you deliver that part of it. Everything else, I don't care. Like he wouldn't even tell you what mediums to use. So he gave us a lot of freedom artistically, but up until that point, I did well in school, mostly out of fear of what might happen at home if I didn't do well in school, but not because I genuinely enjoyed school. So what you said learning should be fun, and I know that a lot of that comes down to the teachers. What role do you think the school system itself could have in making education more fun for students as a whole?
I don't. It's not even necessarily as simple as that. Okay. Because the federal government mandates certain things, and I will say that flexibility and diversity and what's called differentiation, teaching across curriculum, all of those things are ways to build understanding with students and to allow teachers, because I think that, especially in America, when people talk about education, they forget that the strongest part of education are the teachers, because they're the ones who, it's one of the few jobs where everyone who has no clue likes to come in and tell you how to do it. And people forget that educators, the ones in the classrooms, are the ones who have degrees. And most of us have multiple degrees and have been doing it for years. And we know how to bring alive those pieces. And most teachers start out, you choose to teach because you want to help kids, but you also choose to teach because you love that subject. And so we're excited by that subject. And, I know that, my students have said over the years that they can tell which pieces that I love, because I get so excited about it. I have learned to love in American Lit, which I've the Crucible, Catcher in the Rye. There are things that I get excited about. Of course, in British literature, it's nearly everything. And I teach an entire unit on Gothic, which is awesome. And so I think it really comes down to giving those who are in the trenches enough power, enough empowerment, not necessarily power, to be able to do the things that they want to do and love to do, and so I think it's always a way of balancing the things that the bureaucracy needs, like graduation rates and even grades. But I mean, honestly, as we said already, education isn't even about grades. So
Right.
I really think that in a perfect world, everything would be rethought, how it's measured, period. And there are different ideas, like the Montessori principle, where they it's I'm
Yeah,
not
let's
hugely
let's pretend
familiar.
George doesn't have a vast knowledge of all things. for all the cretins listening at home who don't know.
So I've never taught at one, but I learned about it, and I have tutored kids who went to Montessori programs. But the sort of concept of that is that most of it is hands-on, which is great.
Okay.
And the students choose what they want to learn. So, like, if you have kids that have gone to Montessori school for, like, pre-K and K and stuff, they might come to you knowing what atoms are and how they're made up. And they might be able to list you elements in their compounds, but they might not know how to write their name.
Oh, okay.
Because, they probably were interested in looking at these science models or doing whatever. And so they let them sort of guide themselves, and they have these manipulatives out for them and stuff.
You would think there would be some sort of guidelines in there,
Yeah.
though.
So sadly, as much as I'm all for creativity and, I don't think that grades and competition is the way to go. I think differentiation and, things like that is the way to go. I think that there has to be some sort of framework in place.
Right. You have to have a balance, I think.
Yeah, because especially in the lower grades, I mean, sadly, multiplication tables, you got to learn. You have to learn those.
Right.
I don't know, you'd make that fun. I mean, I guess you can play games and stuff. We used to play the stupid, like, where you toss the ball and you'd have to, but I hated it anyway.
I think with something like the maths and the sciences, it very much does come down to the personal preferences of the student, because you couldn't possibly make math fun for me.
Right.
However, for Sarah loves math. She's passionate about it. She loves it. She enjoys it. I can't wrap my head around it at all.
Yeah.
You see me counting on my fingers regularly.
I do.
But give me a pen and some words, and I'm good to go.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It makes me mad that she's good at that too. She's just good at that too. It's like I couldn't just have the words and you could have the numbers, right? You just had to. But in any case, so yeah, you will find those students who are going to gravitate towards the mathematics, and those that gravitate towards English.
But we all have to
and
learn
sciences.
some level of knowledge to begin
Right, you
with.
have to have that general basis.
And that's not my specialty, but
Right.
I know that because that's early education. But I know, once that's there, I think, different ways. And I will say too, like, for instance, you mentioned science. In a lot of European schools, they don't break their sciences apart. We have like biology, chemistry,
Right.
Whatever, physics. They sort of teach like them together. Because if you look at the developing scientific fields, like at universities and then graduate programs and people working in the world, they are blending,
Right.
robotics and biology or,
Right.
whatever, because a lot of those things go hand in hand. And I think that the future for our, the way that we're going to live and the things that we're going to use are going to be blending, physical sciences with natural sciences. And so in some countries, those things are taught, and you just basically increase, I guess, the rigor of the science, but the sciences are blended.
That's interesting.
And that's sort of, I guess it's probably similar to what teaching across the curriculum means. So I worked at one school early, private school, when I first started teaching, and I partnered with the history teacher, although I would be qualified to actually teach both halves of that, but blending a literature and a history class together, because those two actually go hand in hand really well.
Yes, absolutely.
Because when you're looking at world history, when you're looking at American, when you're looking at British lit, you have to have those pieces of history there with it. And so students,
well, the art of any time period, I think, is directly reflective of what's going on at that point in time.
Because I've also worked with an art teacher some, and I use famous artworks as like pieces of inspiration for students to write creatively too.
Okay.
And I'd spoken to one of the art teachers that I used to work with all the time, like about that sort of thing, and it was fascinating because I sat in on a couple of her classes, her AP art classes, and they're teaching the same bits of history and the same, because literature especially, like the Romantic era and abstract and realism, and these are all terms that you see in art and you see in literature because they are reflective of each other.
Correct.
Because what I try to always impart is that the written word is art. It's written, it's not visual, but it's still art. It's just that your medium is your pen and your paper.
Exactly. Yeah, when I said art, I kind of meant all encompassing, whether it be sculpture, painting, music.
Absolutely.
It's directly reflective of what's going on.
Yep.
Even now, and I hate to touch on it, but so much with, if you've been listening to, you said you've listened to a couple of the shows, the mumble rap and my hatred of this new mumble rap, but
I think
it's completely incoherent and incohesive, and there's intentionally no meaning behind it. Intentionally no meaning. And it is, I feel it's directly reflective of what's going on in America now. There's no cohesion. I have a hard time making sense of anything I see in the news anymore. It's just mind-boggling how ridiculous things have gotten. I just heard crickets. Were those real crickets or were those sound effect crickets? That was a real cricket?
No, it was like...
Talk about nature on the Chocolate Milk and Waffles show. You know what? I think that was the perfect segue. Crickets are going to take us into the next musical break. Up next, we got Chirp Chirp by Jiminy and the Crickets.
Scream I'm nothing and I'm always on the creep. That's where you wrong. I'm on these phones, but I ain't talking to no chickens. Only conversate my riches. Why don't you throw some clothes on, missus? I'll be through in a minute with my favorite sinner, and it's such a blessing to be up in your presence. Yeah, I know they talk a lot. You just gotta ask the question, and I get confessing. You gone, I be stressing, giving head with profession. Got a cool over testing, never question. If I'm down, then she riding with me low. Then she riding with me low. Then she riding with me. I don't know. I know she misses right. But I stay up on this grind, right? So I ain't coming home every night. All about my dollar, and she hate it, love to holler. Girl, sit right there. I got a question. You happy over here? A big world, a list, girl. and you bad. I know you tired of feeling sad, so what's it gonna be? You riding with me, we cruise through your dreams. We be the perfect team. I sign on the dotted line. If you sign on that dotted line, I'm all about my dollar sign. Hold it down, tell your mom's moving bigger lawns. I'm about our destiny, you ain't gotta question me. I rose from the dirt, all I know is work. Lot of holes in my shirt, and just a little flirt. But to settle, yeah, I settle. Cause when them niggas came, you was gripping on that metal. Don't wanna go and I can't let you. You never leave me, just believe me. I know I don't deserve it, but you the one I worship now.
I don't know why, but I'm running fast as my feet will carry me. Wherever they choose to carry me, I'm comfortable there. Been greeted with dirty stares and uncomfortable glares. Not sure what I'm facing, but surely I am fully prepared to take it there if there is where it needs to be took. Pent up aggression, manic depression, too many textbooks. A fisherman on the hook might just change his outlook. Now take that, let it simmer and cook. The pot is boiling over, soldiers ready for war. Women and children crying, hiding behind some water doors. When dark clouds draw together, nothing good is in store. So drop down and repent to the Lord. Cause every saint has a past, every sinner a future. Do not just seek the past when you think that it suits you. Get up and run to the sun. If you want it, you can reach it. It's your duty. If you're blessed to learn a lesson, you must teach it. Love is like a language and we all must learn to speak it. Go ahead and spread a little because heaven knows we need it. Run to the arms of somebody you love. Throw your arms around them, go ahead, give them a hug. It's okay to show compassion, not everyone is a thug. Stop all the hatred and anger, man, this world is bad enough. Run with every soul and every breath in my lungs till I collapse on this track, I'ma run.
Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Hurry up, run, hurry up, run. Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Hurry up, run, hurry up, run.
Run the gauntlet, hopping fences, dodging trees. Running and running, but ain't nobody chasing me. I'm in a bad dream, worse yet, in a nightmare. I'm hearing voices all around me and there ain't no one there. I'm going crazy, I think I'm gonna lose it. This is the path I'm choosing. Man, I just hope I pick the right one. Draw my stress and herbal lessons, I'm trying to ease the tension as far as the confessions. There goes one, alright. So these are the details of my life. A spirit under the knife, I done some wrong and some right. I've been hexed, I've been blessed, seen the dark and the light. I never needed Mel to make me feel the passion of Christ. Been a saint, been a sinner, I've been a loser, a winner. Been a pro, a beginner, I spent some nights with no dinner. Stomach growling, ribs touching, I search the fridge and find nothing. Get up in 10 and check again like it was magic or something. Done some shit I ain't proud of, I've done some things that I am. Been a really good son and a horrible man. I'd had some pretty good ideas and made some really bad plans, and all of them have made me who I am. Still I keep running, though I'm tired and I'm losing my breath. Got a couple miles to go before I can slow down and rest. I'ma run until I run until whatever comes next. I'ma run like the bees of the sweat.
Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Hurry up, run. Hurry up, run. Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Faster, faster, hurry up, run. Hurry up, run. Hurry up, run.
And we're back. You have been listening to the Chocolate Milk and Waffles Show on radiofradio.com. Sans Waffles, who is MIA tonight, but our thoughts are with him, and he is with us in spirit. We have been sitting here talking with Lisa Kendrick about all things educational, but she is much more than an educator. So in this next, we actually have to go to our hour break here shortly. But in the meantime, let me bring attention to a couple things. We have our Patreon account, and Radio Free Radio has recently gone nonprofit. But if you would like to be so kind as to hit us up on our Patreon and donate just $1 a month, we would be very, very, very appreciative. It helps keep the power on and helps us keep broadcasting all the amazing programs that we have here on Radio Free Radio. Also, on October 22nd, Radio Free Radio will be having its, is it the second or the third? Second. All Day You Drunks.
It's the second 80YD 2 on October 22nd going into October 23rd.
All Day You Drunks, which is an all day long broadcast. Actually, Justin can probably tell you a little bit more about that than I could.
We're idiots. And we did it last year. Step 1, you have to be insane. Step 2, you have to be even more insane to actually do it. Last year we did it. We went midnight to midnight, and we about damn near lost our minds.
That was how we met, Justin.
Yes, it is. But, I mean, that's how you guys basically got this show, because you guys saved us. Like, we got saved the first time when DJ came in at like 6 a.m. and he brought us Bojangles. and that got us through till, I don't know, like noon. And then from like noon until you guys came in was like...
Our block wasn't until 8.
Yeah, so we're just like, it's all gone. Like, I don't remember any of it. And then you guys came in and basically took all the work off our shoulders. You guys did some spoken word and stuff. And from there, we were able to coast right into the midnight hour. But again, it came way off the rails come 11 o'clock. And
as you would imagine.
Yeah, I mean,
24 hours on air.
We're all delusional, and it just, I don't know. We just weren't making any sense. So like anything we thought we were gonna do, thrown out the window, because we'll do whatever we have to get through this thing. This year we actually thought about it. We're like, you know what? Let's give ourselves till 9 a.m. Saturday. That way we can actually all sleep Friday night and then come in and 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. is going to be much easier. Also,
I think so too.
Also, we thought about it because Matt, Nathan, and I are all entirely too stubborn to give up microphones because that's what we did last year. We're like, we'll take breaks. Yeah, it'll be easy. No, we didn't give up microphones, and we just figured out a way to get somebody on the fourth one. And this year we decided bringing in some bands to perform. We're going to do an hour of stand-up comedy. And Matt and Nate are doing the first ever Matt and Nate's Future Stars of the Future talent show.
Oh, how nice!
Yeah. So
is that for our? That's what our staged area is over here.
Yes. And so very much looking forward to that. I know you guys have the show that night, but from midnight to 4 a.m. is GMY D&D. We're going to be playing board games. One of them is actually a zombie-themed RPG.
Oh, don't tease me.
So we're definitely doing that. We might be doing D&D. That's up in the air. We're definitely doing Settlers of Catan. There's maybe a card game or something that we might be playing. And then it's the sprint home from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Between the performance at the Sandler Center and the day job, that happens to be an inventory weekend at my day job. So
yeah,
it's highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Like that Sunday morning, I have to be at work at 5.
Oh.
That morning, and then that's that Monday too. It's a 2-day process.
I can't see you traipsing in at like 11 p.m. and then having to turn around and.
My plan wasn't to come after the Sandler Center event. I'm probably not going to be at the Sandler Center event for the entire duration because it's crazy long.
Yeah.
But so I was thinking after my portion of the performance, stick around for a little while. Then head out this way. I probably wouldn't be showing up with Terrell.
Oh, okay.
And Terrell's plan was to stop in on his way home after.
Okay. Well, the door's open. So.
Yeah. I'll just walk into the clubhouse.
And you're going to see us probably all strung out on caffeine and whatever it takes to stay awake by that time. But it was a blast last year. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it sounds like
or
a
you wouldn't
horror
have done
story.
it again, I'm sure.
Right. And the idea is we're hoping to raise a couple bucks to we do eventually want to get out of this studio clubhouse and move the studio clubhouse to a brick and mortar in downtown Hampton. Hopefully is where we're looking. We have some legal fees that we're gonna have to pay for the to make the nonprofit official. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping to raise a couple bucks for that. And just trying to raise brand awareness. I feel like that was like the biggest thing that came out of doing it last year's. Suddenly people kind of knew who GMYD was. And now this year we're hoping the same thing. People understand what's going on here at RFR and maybe want to get involved and listen. I don't know. I kind of
all these acronyms.
Yeah, there's entirely too many.
GMYD on RFR. We call this CMW just because it's so much easier than the Chocolate Milk and Waffles show.
Lots of words, man.
That's a lot of words. Yeah. It's a lot of words. But yeah, we're excited about that. I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm glad I was able to become a part of this. This is like one of the funnest things I do every week. And to be honest, it's not unlike the venue. There are times where I'm like, man, I am tired. I don't feel like making this drive. At the venue, I don't feel like getting up every 4 minutes and introducing another person. I'm a human being. I'm tired. But then I get there. And everything changes. Yep. It's like, oh no, this is great, and then I don't want to leave when it's over.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it's definitely it's been a lot of fun. I guess I'll take the time to thank you for that. We've been doing this since March, man. I can't believe.
Yeah, you guys were actually one of the first shows I reached out to.
Yeah,
I reached out to Terrell pretty much almost immediately because that was again part of why we did. The first one was we wanted to do a community radio station. That was the pitch we kept making all day, and we were like, even if we don't raise the money, we're gonna do it. And here it is. We raised $175 last year. Definitely not enough. Definitely not enough to do this.
Right.
But we did it anyway.
Right.
Matt and I are definitely very bullheaded in that way. Like
It's good though. At least for this, it comes in handy.
Yeah, you want to do something, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do it for you. So we just did. And, if we come up with the money, to help us get into a building, awesome. But we're going to find a way to do it, even if we don't.
Right.
Because it's just the way we are. I've actually been talking with the city of Hampton, and more on that as it develops. But we're hoping to, they have some grants and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, so hopefully... we can develop a little something with the city of Hampton.
That'd be great.
Definitely looking forward to that.
That'd be great. I'm proud of what we're doing here as a collective. I like what's going on.
And I'm glad that it's expanding.
Yeah.
We added The Great Show and Seven Says this week. We're definitely...
Both premiered last night,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. And, we're like I told you off air, we're doing a little shifting. I'm running out of room. Like,
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I feel like the model is give somebody an hour and let them grow into the second. But a lot of people, like The Great Show, is already ready for that second hour. I feel.
Really.
And yeah, and I think because Seven wants to play music too. I feel like in order for him to get music in, he's gonna need that second hour. I felt like you guys were hindered by that only 1 hour thing for so long. That's why I was like, well, we need to.
Yeah, that hour was creeping up on us quick.
It goes fast. You never know. And I'm just so proud of everybody just coming out and knocking it out of the park, and it makes things a lot easier for me. I don't have to talk on your show. I am now, but it's because we have a big event coming up.
Right.
But I don't have to talk on your show like hardly ever. And it sounds silly, but I talk 16 hours a week.
I'll take that as a compliment.
I talk 16 hours a week, basically. Like on almost every other show, I talk at some point, and it's nice to be able to come out here and not have to.
Like this doesn't. I never once do I feel like I'm working, ever when I'm here. Like, I mean, I'm sure you do because you're pushing buttons, and you definitely play a much bigger role. I tell people all the time, I literally show up, and I talk for 2 hours, and then I go home. That's it. That's what I do. But yeah, we here at Radio Free Radio are all really, really happy about what's going on here. And we invite you to listen in to All Day You Drunks on October 22nd, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock the following morning. Send caffeine and donuts.
Yes.
We are at the bottom of our hour. When we return, we will be back with Lisa Kendrick. You are listening to the Chocolate Milk and Waffles Show on Radio Free Radio.
Here in 1992, we Wandu, baby. Yeah. First weapon. The MICBU, DDA. No info for the DEA. Still be getting it in for the culture. My rhymes be the plaster of Paris to build a sculpture. What is this fraud on the go flow rappers? We gritty, grimy city folk 5 clappers. And I ain't a rapper, I'm an MC by trade. How I get in this game? Guess you could say this man was made. Did a lot of lyrical murder shootings and hangings. Verb, drive-by, adjective, and now bangings. Wanted for my murder, Jakes want me for my crimes. Hillside Strangler, David Berkowitz to rhymes. The John Gotti, Big Poppy, Barnes Nicky. The lyrical 40 cal, my PayPal kinda tricky. My palms get itchy, my mic get sticky. I only rock with my peeps, them know I'm kinda picky. Next up the bat, you know the crew one reppin'. 5-time offender, I'm out second weapon,
One do. Hey, my boo, I got you, baby. TF1. Coke and water. WM.L.IV, aka Diamond Mike, get it, the king, the semi-machine, the Hitler P90, the AK, the SK, the Mac for the Grammys. Here we go, yo, what's the scenario? Coke and water FM radio, yeah, yo, hip-hop's back, so let's go. Sometimes I rhyme slow, so check the rhyme, yo. But babe, bro, what ayo, I'm letting the two go, fall back, I lay low. Inhale, exhale, with oxygen flow. P-Rock, the Ricky D is primo, rap band go. Uh-oh. Black man's black hoodie, black robbing niggas like whoa. He the Rembrandt and the Mona Lisa. For bag of them C's that do bitch better than divas.
Here in 1992, from the rugged streets of Uptown, 1992, Norfolk in the building. Here in 1992, Young's Park, you know. And he goes going in. Omega, Tron, line a barrel up with the top of your chin. Kick your door in like Big with the pen. Do your homework, man, the God get it in. Stretch the coke out like Richard Simmons. Shot pot flow, man, just stuck with the lemons. 85 South, just here for the work. Bitch ass nigga, I'ma lift up your skirt. Skinny jeans on, might as well get a purse. Spar with the mic like checks on the first. The way I lay it down, should've came with a hearse. When the God bill, you can hit a double flirt. The book of old mag, death to the birth. Yeah, the ox in the flesh, hip hop. One dude to my man Mike Boo. When mad like a down, ain't nothing coming through. Here in 1992, we possess. Here in 1992, we possess. Here in 1992, we possess. And he goes by the name of. Understand, I really rock with you, fam. I take my shirt off and put it right in your hand. If I had $1, 50 cents you could spend. Ride through the hood, putting piff in the wind. Through the knowledge God, trying to build with my mans. The pyramid we start keep sinking in the sand. Back at square one, trying to make it to the end. My old earth told me I'd never have a friend. It ran through my mind while I was sitting in the pen. It go beyond the fact, God, we've been shaking hands. It go without saying, great minds see the plan. We can get low like a gingerbread man. Before I rattle my dude, I'll just play the hand. Cut my tongue off, I lie on the stand. All I really need in this life is a friend. Won't you, baby, 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 be my friend? Won't you, baby, 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 be my friend?
Nah, I think I got all the ones I need. I don't really have friends, I have family, man. My circle is small but cozy like a throw pillow fam. There's a handful of heads I know that would give me a hand when the chips are down, but most would let me lay in the sand. I seen some fake shit, some fuckery, people close to me fucking me. Had a few blades stuck in me, got them out though, luckily. I'm talking heads I used to fight for, said I would give my life for. Had me like, what's that knife for? The fam I got's the one I'm keeping, and membership is exclusive. Rigorous screening process if you're willing to do it. Only a few have made it through with the tried and the very truest. If you're wondering if you're on this list, you're foolish. The ones who know me know who they are, there's never a question. I show them love, they show it back, there's simple joy in that lesson. I love every single last one of y'all, my hand to the Lord. And that ain't Mike talking, it's George. So won't you, baby, 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 be my friend?
Won't you, baby, 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 be my friend?
Look, Mom, what I need, not an option. You the heartbeat, love your snare and percussion. The way you bring it back, about to make you start something. You my girlfriend, to the end, no frontin'. Turn your voice up, how you wanna hook stuntin'. You sound so good, Mom, your voice, how me coming. You tryna lullaby by the guard stamp on it. You can be the star, just let me shine on it. I did it for us both, like butter on the toast. One with your crown, really hooked on your notes. The way your mag flow, mine get a hood hope. We both out the box like soap on the rope. You all in the book, little jazz on the spokes. Old head say you sound sweet when you spit. It came from the pain that I seen on the bricks. And what you got now is a friend in the mist.
Won't you, baby, 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 be my friend? Won't you, baby, 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 be my friend?
Take 16.
It's the chocolate milk and waffle show. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's get it on. Who are these guys? It's my theme music. Every good hero. Check it out, son.
Welcome in, here on Radio for Radio, go tell a friend. Went to Rail in Georgia, bring them in. We got so many things to talk about, so let's begin. Putting a highlight on local life on Thursdays, 8 at night. Hope you feeling alright, cause tonight we gon' get you right, yeah, show you right. We gon' laugh, joke, talk, rinse, repeat. We gon' keep it real chill, let's get deep. Ain't no topic off limits, no knock off a gimmick. 10 times out of 9, you'll be fine when we finish. We get talented, hard to get artists to target that audience. Talk accomplishments of those who get no acknowledgement. The studio be hot in the summertime, studio be cold in the winter. And know the chair a bit dusty, it be a throne we enter. Have a seat with us, chocolate milk and waffles, come and eat with us. 2 whole hours, turn your speakers up. And before we get it started, just repeat it thus. It's on chocolate milk and waffle show. It's the chocolate milk and waffle show. We got George, we got Terrell, we got milk, that's chocolate. We got beautiful buttery waffles, just the way your mama used to make them.
Crazy, crazy, crazy show. That's what it is. Okay, whatever. I can't.
And we're back. You have been listening to the Chocolate Milk and Waffle Show on RadioFRadio.com. I'd like to take a quick pause to invite you to download the Radio Free Radio app. If you're listening on the website or watching on YouTube, you can keep up with us on the go. So go to your Play Store or to the Apple Store and download the Radio Free Radio app. It's just that simple. Search Radio Free Radio. Boom. It'll be there. Click download. It's free. And you get to listen to all the craziness on the go. I have been here for the last hour with Lisa Kendrick. We have been talking the educational system, and I just had a brain fart. Pretty much the educational system is what we've been talking about. We dedicated almost our entire first hour to that. I learned a lot. Hopefully you guys at home did too, but there are definitely more layers to Lisa Kendrick than just as an educator. So let's talk about what's going on in this country right now. I know you are a very strong feminist. Mm-hmm. A lot of your poetry deals with your feminism. Mm-hmm. And most recently, in regards to that particular area, Donald Trump has made some comments that have been less than popular. So I think everybody knows what was said. Let's just get right into it. Let's hear it. How do you feel?
That was very general.
It was. Well, I guess for some backstory, for anybody who doesn't know, Donald Trump, there was a recording released of Donald Trump roughly 10, 11 years ago on a bus with Billy Bush of, was it Inside America? One of those.
ATV, I think. Or no, it was Inside America.
It was, I don't know, it was one of those celebrity gossip talk shows where Donald Trump essentially said, in a nutshell, that he could assault women sexually and get away with it because he's rich. Not only get away with it, but that they would allow it because he's rich. The words used were grab her by the pussy. And yeah, that's what he should have got, was a bunch of cricket sounds. But he didn't. Ironically enough, he's gotten some support and defenders. And ironically enough, I've seen women defending him still.
Yeah.
Still, this man's his first speech, he called Mexicans rapists. And the Republican Party has continued to stand behind him and continue to stand behind him while bragging about a sexual assault. And those that are abandoning him, I feel, are incredibly hypocritical, because this is the Trump you created, and now all of a sudden you want to try to wipe your hands of it. I'm sorry. You were involved in his creation. So, as a feminist, as a mother of 2 daughters, as a female in the education system, how do you feel that these comments and this man running for president impacts? First of all, how many things did you throw when you first heard?
Nothing, because I already knew.
Yeah.
It was nothing. It was nothing that wasn't expected. So, I know that somebody was like, "Oh, have you heard this? You're going to be so angry." And I was like, "No, it doesn't surprise me." Obviously, there are way more issues than anyone could even begin to address. But I'm going to address the main one associated with the timbre of those sorts of things that he was saying. There's a lot of people that argue and say, "Oh, this is not a rape culture. Women are equal. Women work and stuff. It's not a rape culture." And I think that his discussion, the way that he said those things, is exactly, an example of what a rape culture does. And the women who defend him, well, all of his defendants, but especially the women who defend him say, "Oh, it's locker room talk. Men talk like that in the locker room." And I was like, well, I hope that men aren't in a locker room talking about sexually assaulting
not to interject.
Females.
I had this conversation yesterday during the workshop. I have never had a conversation like that.
Yeah, no male that I know
we don't
has.
talk like that. We don't talk like that. It's not. There's locker room talk. I don't know that that's a real thing. I think that's a made-up term that people use to excuse themselves when they're being chauvinistic dickheads. And I heard the argument, well, women who are offended because Trump said pussy, what about the woman who wrote 50 Shades of Grey? 2 things. One, she's not running for president. Secondly, she is not. Nobody's mad that he said pussy. What people are mad about is that he's bragging about sexual assault and saying that it's okay for him to do it because he's rich. Now you have Billy Bush, who's being fired from this network.
Good.
As he should be. As he should be. Absolutely. He didn't make the comments, and he's being fired. However, the man who did is still allowed to run for president.
Yeah. That just shows how
exactly
far things have gone. And the argument is that things have always been this bad. People have just been silent about it. They've kept the assault talk to the locker room, I guess. And now he's, but everything that he said are things that we know that there are segments of our population feel that way and do those things. And so they are supporting because of those prejudices that they hold, whether it's against a race or against a gender. But it's terrifying. He's definitely proof. I guess I've talked to a lot of men, and they, it's difficult, I think, for men to imagine what it's like growing up as a female. And I grew up in the Deep South, where sexism, is alive and well. Even among women belittling other women. And then, of course, men, I didn't even know what sexism, I guess, or feminism was when I was young. I just knew that I hated when guys that I didn't know would call me honey or sweetheart, or they would treat me as if I was like dumb or a child, or like something was wrong with me, or they would, ask to speak to my boyfriend or my husband or something if they didn't like what I had to say, and I grew up, as a female, going out, when you go out, you take your life into your own hands, you can, because you're afraid of ending up in the wrong place at the wrong time, dark alleys. I always took mace or a knife, anywhere I went, anywhere. You always tell your friends where you're going. If you're going on a date with somebody you don't know, when you're going to be back.
And these are things that men in general don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a talk where they sit you down and say, okay,
right.
George, before you go out with a girl, okay?
Right, but it's very similar to the talk that black parents have with their children about the police, which is, it's just sad. I don't know that men get that sort of preparation. Because
we're always fearful.
Right.
There's always that fear. And I've been groped so many times. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many, groped. Men who come up to you and will say the most ridiculous things. Yeah. And I spent most of my whole life, as most women do, just because the thing is, what makes it worse is when someone is saying something ridiculous to you, like, you look like you got, a tight, whatever, I want to check that out, or something to your face that you don't even know. If you get angry at them, then they could become belligerent and violent towards you. So you can't even say what you want to say. You're just constantly like, oh, and it's this sort of terrible position. I think that's one of the reasons why now I'm so outspoken and I can't not say things, because I spent so much of my life just taking, whatever, just to try to not make people angry and fit into society. And and it's if you have a segment of your population that has to change their behavior in order to not be assaulted or belittled or mistreated, then obviously something is wrong.
Right. So was there, you said that for a long time you kind of kept quiet and you fell into that pattern of just, and then at some point you decided you weren't going to take that anymore. Was there a key moment that you said, you know what, enough of this, and I'm done with?
No, I think it was just getting older, and then unless, like I said, I wasn't raised around even knowing really what sexism or feminism was. It was just this feeling that I had that I was treated as less, especially by men, and that I would be blamed. Even as a kid, like in church and stuff, I was taught as a girl that if I was sexually assaulted, it was my fault.
Right. We immediately asked, well, what was she wearing and why was she drinking? Right.
Like I was literally told that when I was like 12 years old, that I was attractive and that men would tempt me and that, it would be my fault. And it was my job to make sure that I didn't tempt some man to do something, it's this whole like ridiculous.
Because men get relieved of all the responsibility.
Yeah, and
unless
unless you've grown up like that. There are even women who didn't grow up in such a closed-minded, and they even can't imagine like how you feel growing up like that. And it's this tendency to always blame yourself, and yet knowing at the same time, this is not my fault. Like why am I letting myself be treated like this, and why am I just not doing something?
We see it case after case after case when a woman is assaulted. The questions we ask are, well, what was she wearing?
Yeah.
Why was she drunk by herself? Mm-hmm. Why was she walking home by herself? Why does any of that matter? Yeah. Why aren't we asking, why did this man do that? Like the whole Brock Turner thing.
Well, not even that. He wasn't even the one. That was so terrible. And I made the mistake of reading the transcript from court, and
I couldn't.
I don't think I will ever get that out of my head. That was just, but of course, 1 in 4 women are sexually assaulted by the age of like, it's either 18 or 20 something. So, statistically, every one of us either knows someone or has been assaulted. Right. Now, not in the terrible, horrendous way that she was. Okay. per se, but still,
Right.
has had assault, has had to fight someone off, or been forced to do something, or been roofied, or whatever. And I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, but actually, what I was going to say was there's a more recent. Another actor, and I don't want to badmouth the actor, so I'm not going to say the name, but and there have been people defending him. He was supposedly possibly raped someone, went to trial. He was acquitted of it, and so they're like, hey, when men go to trial and they're acquitted of rape, why do they still have this stigma attached to them? And so my argument was they do, because so many men who rape women
Get away with it.
Get away with it. And so, and the other thing for women is so many women don't go to court. They don't press charges because it's harder. It's so hard to press charges because you have to find somebody to believe you, and you have to have proof, and you
on top of being vilified
on top
for
of
your own
already
assault.
being vilified. Yeah,
Right.
then you have to go through this entire process, and it's not even, for many of us, it's not worth it. And so, my argument is if a guy even makes it to trial and he's got rape charges and it ends up being a long trial, and I don't care if he's acquitted, like something went down that shouldn't have gone down,
Right.
because it got that far.
So where does the accountability fall?
That has to fall with society. I mean, obviously, I think it's a matter of education and a matter of, I think a lot more people are becoming aware of the issue. But obviously, as Trump's words and a lot of things we've been seeing, there are still huge segments of our population that live in denial.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if anything good has come from Trump's running for president, is that it's lifted this filter and this veil that has been over America. Like there are lots of people who were like, "Oh no, racism doesn't exist. We in this country anymore. We're good." And now Trump runs for president, and all of a sudden, they're all just coming out of the woodworks, blatant. I don't remember what university it was. There was a student wearing a farmer's outfit with a gorilla mask, carrying around a burlap sack that had a Confederate flag on it, and handing bananas to the black students. I don't know if you heard about this.
No.
It was during a Black Lives Matter protest, and he was passing out bananas. So under the mask, he was brave and Mr. Billy Badass. Eventually, campus police showed up, arrested him, and demasked him in front of everyone.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so his face was all over the internet, but I don't know that would have happened pre-Trump presidency. I don't know that it would have happened. Did it exist? Yes, but I think for that particular sector of people, Trump has it's almost like he's given them license to come out and be racist. When you are at your own rally and there's a black man who is protesting you at your rally, and you say, "Get him out of here." 50 years ago, they would have drug him out. That's the America that Trump wants to bring back. And women are a marginalized group, just like African Americans are a marginalized group. I know you are very active in the Black Lives Matter movement. I imagine that's because you understand oppression on some level. Perhaps not on the level of an African American, but you understand it on some level. So let's talk a little bit about your involvement with BLM. I know you've been to a couple protests here and there, and you're very vocal on social media.
That's I've been to the couple of rallies that they've had here. I don't, I'm on a couple of closed groups that are sort of spinoffs, I guess, from that. For me, I feel like there's not enough movement still going on. Like I feel like that the protests need to continue, that something visual needs to continue to be done, because I feel like there were these people and they got together and there were like 3 marches or something, and then it just kind of fizzled, from what I can see. There's a lot of talk.
It seems to resurge every time another major death hits the media.
You have to keep the momentum. And so I've really been disappointed with the fact that this momentum doesn't seem to continue.
It's more of a of a up and down as opposed to a steady.
Because it's
constant.
easy to just go back to your life when things are okay, and of course that's part of what oppression is, making it just enough okay
and
that
I
we
think
can
that's
live
what
our
the
daily
oppressor
lives.
counts on is the fact that they'll be out there for
absolutely.
3 or 4 days. They'll get over it.
They'll get over it. It'll
until
blow
the next
over.
time, and then we'll deal with it again.
Yeah, and I think you have to keep the movement going forward. And I think what I thought was great that I saw was I saw like people from the homosexual, gay, lesbian community, with their rainbow shirts, showing support, openly showing support as another group, the Pride movement supporting, and seeing there were a lot of women, of all colors, certainly, white women as well, because all women understand, Sojourner Truth and Frederick Douglass always talked about that, talked about women and minorities needing to stand together, that together you can defeat them. Together, we could elect whoever we wanted. We wouldn't, we could completely outvote all the white males who want whatever.
Who have continued this system of oppression.
Exactly.
And that's what I had this conversation with a coworker recently. Like we were talking off mic about Ku Klux Klan uniforms, and I asked him the same question: why do you think you don't ever see any of them in museums? It's because it's not history. This is all very much still happening. This has not gone away. And you hear people saying, "I don't know what it is." All of a sudden, with all this racial talk and all this oppression, it's not new. The technology is new. The cameras are new, and our systems of communication are new. But the acts that we're reporting on are not. It's just the fact that everybody walks around with a high-resolution camera in their pocket, with a computer, quite literally in their pocket, that can reach anywhere else on the planet within a matter of seconds. So these aren't new things. It's just we finally have the appropriate window to view it through.
Yeah, we're finally seeing the reality.
Yeah.
Because it's actually being captured.
And I think
now.
it's becoming more clear. Even like I've had conversations with people that, like, honestly, I would have never thought that it was really this bad until you start to see the hatred and just the animosity over a skin tone, over a gender, over a sexual preference. And it's just mind-boggling that in 2016, we're still having to explain this shit to people. Like, it's 2016. What the fuck do you mean you can't have a slave? No, you know.
I don't understand it. It's hate and it's fear. Of course, fear breeds hate.
Absolutely.
And I guess the thing that disturbs me the most is our media. And I feel like our media, originally my degree was broadcast journalism and communication. And, when I learned, this is many years ago, when I learned about media history and media law and stuff, originally our journalists were the watchdogs of society. That's what they were there to do, to report these horrible things, to enlighten the people, to spread truth. Our early journalists were the ones printing pamphlets for the American Revolution and arguing for, rights for everyone. Of course, they didn't mean everyone at the time, but it was still a start, and now our media panders to these things. And if you watch like local news, just watch local news, like in the morning when you get up or at night before you go to bed, and it's all about fear. Every single thing on there is about fear. There's nothing that's happy. There's nothing. I mean, there are millions of good things. People do great things for each other every day. Yeah. And I think if we saw more of these things, and if we had
fear
a
is
media
much more of a motivator.
that showed us, but the media is all about money and making ads, and they need to pull in people, and fear motivates people. And so, that's and like watch even like the tie-ins, like right before they go to commercial, they'll be like, the thing in your home that could kill you tonight, and then you come back and it's
a frayed cord on your toaster.
Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. And I really didn't believe a friend of mine was telling me that, and I was like, no, this is not true. And then I started watching.
But this is how
this
is how we're programmed, because you see it on the internet too, like these clickbait headlines.
Yes.
You won't believe what happened when she opened up her cabinet and she found like 3 cans of out-of-date corn. It's not that big a deal, but they want you to click, so you click because we're programmed to that curiosity, and we're drawn towards bad news. I make this analogy all the time. I can remember the fight that happened in the history hall in high school senior year, but I can't tell you who my valedictorian was. I don't remember.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's sad. It's going to destroy us.
I think so too. So where do you stand? I know you're not voting for Trump. And I know you're not for a two-party system either.
No, I'm not. I think that's another issue, a huge issue. Every other democracy in the world has more than two parties. We are the only two-party system. It's been rigged that way since the beginning.
Right.
It's still rigged that way, and one of the ways it's rigged is like through the debates. You know, the fact that to bring the third or fourth party in, they have to have at least 15% before they get any airtime, and if you don't give them airtime, they're not going to get more voters. And so it's this
It's a cycle.
this spiral. It's this cycle.
That's what I tell people. They'll be like, "Oh, the system's broken." No, the system's not broken at all.
Actually, it's working well for corporations.
It works just fine.
Yeah. So I definitely believe at the root of the system, yes, we have racism and sexism that is inherent in the system, but at the bottom line, the system's about money.
Yeah.
And it's always been about money. And it's about classism. And it's about, keeping your workers happy and working and, the few people making money. And it's rigged that way. I swore I was never going to vote for a white male again in my life. I didn't care. But I really liked Bernie. I grew to really, he grew him because he's the only one that, I think really had the ability to reach people and get some stuff done, maybe. I liked Jill Stein until she started, what was she suggesting about Trump? She was saying, go ahead and vote for Trump. I forget what she was arguing about. I can't remember now.
I definitely,
she's using it as a strategy to doesn't actually mean it, but she's using the strategy with Trump to try to. Anyway, I didn't like some of the direction that her sort of campaigning was taking.
How do you feel about Johnson?
He's an idiot as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And the issue too is, and what I've told people over and over again is, don't throw your vote away on an independent party. And I've always said that, and I've never done that, because you are throwing your vote away. But then at the same time, if enough of us went to the polls and did that, we wouldn't
this is how
be.
I feel about
but
that.
People don't. My other argument was, all right, so we're stuck with the two-party system. So what you have to do each time is vote for the most progressive. And if we all went to the polls and we all voted for the most progressive, then in a few elections, they would have to sort of lean that way. They would have to lean that way. And so Hillary is definitely a corporate crony. She's definitely a politician who knows what her true motivation is. I mean, being president, obviously, I think that's always been her motivation is politics. But she knows how to play the game. She knows what she's doing. She's not going to grab anyone's private parts. She has a lot of issues, and I've been really disappointed in her. That first debate was terrible. She's like rolling her eyes and kind of making faces and telling people to fact check. And I was so pissed after I saw like about 30 minutes of that I was like, I will not vote for that bitch. I was like, I will not vote for her.
Both these last two debates were both an hour and a half of I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah.
And
it's childish. It's
a joke. The whole thing is a
it's
joke.
A joke, but you can't let Trump be president. I mean, and so a lot of people are saying, well, we're just going to walk. We're not going to do either one. We're tired of voting for the bad one. But then I'm kind of like, but again, if you voted for the better one every time, and we consistently did that, and we consistently showed up at the polls, then we could make a change.
I have a prediction that this election will see the lowest voter turnout in history.
I think so too. I wish it would break apart the Republican Party. That would be,
at some point they have to say to themselves, okay, this is clearly not working.
Yeah.
Like, what were we thinking? I know a lot of them are already saying that to themselves. What the hell were we thinking?
Yeah, but the thing is, even the ones who are saying that, like the ones who finally came out, they're saying the same crap he does. They just keep it hidden.
Right, exactly.
So
they just know it's not good to have that as your public face.
Yeah.
Like Hillary, she's not for gays. She's not for gay marriage. That's not her personal stance. That's her public stance. And she'll push that, and she'll probably even support the gay community as a politician. But behind closed doors, she doesn't like gay people. Plain and simple. So you have that. Like, as far as throwing my vote away, on a personal level, I won't vote for Hillary just for the sake of keeping Trump out. I won't vote for Johnson or Stein because I feel like neither of them are quite capable.
Yeah, I agree.
At least not yet. I think maybe with a few more years of experience, either of them could possibly be good presidents. I would much rather and I don't know how much, I have to do a little bit more research, but I know that Bernie Sanders registered as a write-in well before all this went down as some just in case. But a lot of people don't know that. When you go to the polls, that name won't be listed. There'll be a separate sheet probably taped to the wall somewhere of all the write-in candidates. That's how they do it. So if he is available, I will write in my vote for Bernie, because at least I can walk out of that booth and say to myself, I voted for someone I believe in, not for someone just for the sake of keeping someone else out.
Right.
So maybe I am throwing away my vote because it's not going to count. But if everybody who feels that way did it,
that's true.
Maybe we could get somebody in there that we actually believe in.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd be okay with another Obama term.
Oh,
at this
absolutely,
point.
absolutely.
Like, can we just keep Obeezy in
but
there?
I love him.
Can we keep Obeezy? And me and him we're close like that. I can call him by his Snoop Dogg name. He is Obeezy. But all jokes aside, like as much as people talk about him, it's like he's done all right. He's done all right.
Yeah, I have nothing but respect for him.
Yeah.
I think of any president, he's been more maligned and bad-mouthed than ever.
Yeah.
And just I respect him so much because he keeps that decorum. You know, no matter what, he smiles. He's in control of the situation. Like I would be losing my shit right now. I wouldn't. That's why I'm not running for president.
Like, what is wrong with y'all? And he would have been able to accomplish a whole lot more during his 8 years had he not been fought every step of the way with
for everything.
Every little inch worth of legislation he tried to get through was just.
And my argument is, it's still not about parties. It's about his color.
Yeah.
I've always argued it. That's why. And I honestly, though, I've seen studies done as far as Hillary Clinton, and I do think that even some of the stuff that most of us who feel like we fact checked and that she had, I still think that we're still getting an uglier picture of her than actually exists.
I'm sure.
Because she's also been maligned, and the fact that she's a female. I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that she is a female.
There was a period in time where I felt like she was more interested in being the first female president than just being president. And like it was almost during every debate, during every speech, like every 3 sentences, she would start out with, "When I'm the first female president." It's like, we get it. We know that that's what would happen. Like, can we talk about some issues? I would love to see a debate where they actually talk about how they plan to do any of this bullshit they keep spitting out. Like, you say you're going to do this, this, and this, but how? What Donald Trump is describing is trickle down. That's what got us here in the first place. It's not going to work.
Well, he's going to destroy the environment and get us in war.
Yeah,
he's going to put somebody off.
He just wants to blow people up and fight wars and.
Yeah. So I honestly don't know. I mean, what I will do when and if I go to a poll. Like, I've always been the one who said vote for the and I'm now the one feeling like I don't even care. But it's been suggested, and I sort of agree that the fact that I can say that is a certain level of privilege. Because I am protected to a certain extent because of my color, and so it's not as scary for me. It would be terrifying. And it is. Obviously, he's anti-female, but I feel like, and they made me really angry at first because a lot of people, famous people, who came out and said, "We'll vote for him, and let's bring about the end. Let's bring about the revolution because something's going to give. If you put him in there, then." Something's got to give. Like, things are going to have to change because that's not going to be acceptable. But the issue is that I feel like it will put a lot of people's lives in danger.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Especially with his policies as far as for police. His concept is to just give them more guns. Give them more
reinstate
force.
Stop and frisk and have Muslims register.
I mean, it for anyone that's a minority. I mean, it's terrifying. It's terrifying, and I would never want that. To
I don't
happen.
understand minorities that are Trump supporters. I can't wrap my head around it at all.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I have someone in my family who's a Trump supporter, and we're Puerto Rican. And he said, "Well, he doesn't like Mexicans." I'm like, "You think he makes any differentiation between you and like we're all Mexicans to him? No, you get that, right? Like, it doesn't matter what Spanish-speaking country we're actually from."
No.
First speech, he called them rapists.
Yeah.
And then he said, and I'm sure maybe some of them are good people. Are you kidding me?
Of course, it turns out he's the rapist.
Yeah, and he's going to trial in December.
Yes,
and we
he
don't even talk
is.
about
Yes,
this.
he
How can you be?
is.
How
Yes.
how can he be being brought up on sexual assault charges? So what if he wins in November? Is our president going to be on trial for sexual assault a month after he gets elected?
And I just don't understand why, like, even Pence, as much as I hate Pence, why he doesn't just like throw in the towel and be like, no, I can't do this anymore. Of course, don't misunderstand me. He would be terrible for women. But it just doesn't make any sense. Their pride's so big that they can't just like
when
walk
Seneca
away.
was on the show, that we talked about the cognitive dissonance with the Trump supporters. And
yes,
at this point, a
course.
lot of them is. I think a lot of it is, well, I've been supporting them this long. I can't really go back on what I've been saying, so I'm gonna just continue to support him blindly.
Right.
Then you have people that are just party supporters and not so much Trump supporters,
right,
that will vote Republican no matter
But that
who the hell
doesn't
is
even
running.
makes sense because it's been hijacked so far to the left.
Right. It's
that
at this point, it's like it's
nothing.
laughable. The whole. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there are people that are saying that Trump's been working for Hillary the whole time. And at this point,
I've read articles about that.
I'm almost like, you know what? It doesn't even seem that far-fetched at this point. It's almost like he's trying to throw the election, and he's sitting behind closed doors like, they're still supporting me? Really? He probably released the tape. You know what I mean? It was probably him. Like, you know what? I remember a couple years ago I said such and such. Let me see if I can find that tape. Maybe I can get myself out of this.
I almost, in the beginning, I could almost see that I read a couple articles about that, and I could see, but I really feel like his narcissism, maybe it was kind of, I think for whatever reason, it was kind of a joke at first.
Yeah.
But now he doesn't want to look like a loser.
I would not be, if he, God forbid, hypothetically he won, I would not be surprised at all if after he won, he said, I don't want it, just wanted to see if I could win.
Yeah. But I mean,
because he's that arrogant and that narcissistic.
It's terrible though, because we're we look terrible. Like everybody,
the whole rest of the world is looking at
it. Like, what the hell?
I have a buddy of mine named Jake. He graduated from VCU. He's living in Australia now. Don't know why the fuck he wanted to go to Australia, but Jake said, "Hey, I'm gonna go to Australia," and Jake did it. So now he's in Australia all by himself, and he's doing his thing down there. But what he says is that during his travels abroad, that's what he's constantly being asked by foreigners, like, are you guys serious? Your election, like, is this for real? Like, neither of them are worth a damn. And then people are like, oh, I wish I had another choice. You do, but they suck too. So like, we have no real viable option for the leader of our country.
And which gives me nostalgia because I lived out of the country when Bush Jr. was president and would speak. And I was embarrassed then. I was like, oh my God, I am not American. I'm not American. And now I'd like go back to those days. I mean, because this is so much worse.
Right.
Like,
and it makes you wonder, like, can it get any worse than this from here?
That's a terrifying thought.
It's horrifying. Because I couldn't imagine it getting any worse than George W. And
true.
Now I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, I was terrified of Romney.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, maybe he should come back as the other option. I mean, it's terrifying when something makes you think that all the things that you thought were the worst possible, like the lowest we could get, takes you to another low.
And can I just go to hell?
My only hope is that this is the bottom. This is the bottom, and we can only go up from here.
Yeah.
And I hope with
the only thing worse could be like Manson running with David Duke as a running mate.
Oh my God!
Like, it couldn't possibly get any worse than Trump. It couldn't possibly.
Of course, you shouldn't say that. Very
it's funny because the hypocrisy, like, of people who voted against Obama for both terms and wanted to say, oh, it's not about him being black, I just support the other candidate. And they would give me all these excuses like, well, he's only been a senator for X amount of time and he doesn't have the experience. It's not that he's black. I just don't think he's got the experience. These are the same people that want to vote for Trump now. Yeah. It's like, you fucking hypocrite. This guy's never been a goddamn lunchroom monitor, let alone held any kind of public office. He's brought several companies to financial ruin. He has a track record of being a horrible employer to the lower level employees in his companies. He's a misogynist. He's a racist. He's faced rape charges several times throughout his life. Born silver spoon in his mouth. The list just goes on and on and on.
And I'm pretty sure he's doing cocaine when he sends out those tweets at night.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw him during the debate, like, it's just
yeah. People are like, oh, he's not doing drugs. Oh, please.
Come on.
Oh, please.
And this bullshit about, I said that a long time ago. No, bro, it was 10 years ago.
I hate that.
You were
They're
60.
Like, that was in the past. It was the past. Dude, it was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's an old man.
Right. It's not like he's
not changing.
A spry 20-year-old that changed, And
the evangelicals, which I could never say correctly, they're like, oh, he's come to God now. No.
Please.
No.
And if you really want to go there,
really,
like that, I don't know that that's a better option.
Yeah.
You tell me that he's come to God, and I might. That makes him.
Well, for
feel
me, yeah,
more suspicious.
That's not a.
Like, yeah, you haven't sold me.
You didn't help me, and
right.
That's not.
You're,
but that's
their
reason. That's their reason for still backing
and it's
him.
Not, and it's clearly not true. It's very clearly not true because no man of God would go in front of the nation and say the things that he's saying, inciting people to violence against black people at his rallies. He called a baby a loser for crying.
Well,
the baby was like 7 months old.
Poor thing.
He was with his mom at a rally, and he was crying, probably because he knew what the hell was going on. Probably better than any of the adults in the room. And he called the baby a loser.
Yeah, that scenario with him about kicking Black Lives Matter people out, protesters. That the documentary on Netflix, 13th. I'm gonna have to check it out, but to be honest, I've together. It's harsh.
I've been avoiding it just because I know I'm just gonna start burning shit down.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's a tough situation that we're in, and at this point, I think anybody who continues to refuse to see that there is a systematic oppression of black people in this country, you are in favor of it,
yes,
or you're choosing to not see
truly a moron. Yeah,
right. You are choosing to not see
it
because it's too blatant and in your face.
Yep.
The data is there. We have the numbers for you.
Yes.
Yes, by quantity, more white people are being shot by police than black people. But when you break it down by percentages, which is where you need it to be,
yes,
it's clearly
to make sense. It's clearly
it's black people are being killed at a much more higher rate than white people are. And there are more white people being shot because there's more white people. Period.
Of course, my argument too is the fact that we're having to look at how many people got shot by cops, period, is a problem right there. Because they're supposed to serve and protect.
I don't understand why people that say, oh, well, more white people get shot. Well, then why aren't you mad about that?
Right. Then why aren't you pissed? I'm confused. I'm pissed. Why aren't you?
Right. And you say Black Lives Matter. Well, all lives matter. Well, then you agree that Black Lives matter.
Yes.
Well, what about Syrian lives? What about gays? Oh, yeah, there's... I don't want to hear that bullshit.
Yeah.
And whenever Blue Lives Matter decides to boycott Ben and Jerry's because Ben and Jerry's says that they support Black Lives Matter, you're very clearly telling us where your stance is.
Yes.
Oh, Lisa. Oh, Lisa.
And this is why, when I get really busy and things get stressful in my life, I stay off social media and I stay off news sources. And that's what I've tried to do for the last few weeks, but it still bleeds in, you know.
You can't help but let it.
And it's just, it gets worse. And you think, well, this is as bad as it's going to, there's not going to be any more craziness and there's more.
Yeah. We literally have footage of cops bragging about killing people. Cops saying, oh shit, I might lose my job for this one, or I might be suspended for this. Intentionally cutting off cameras, raising the hoods of cars to block cameras.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. And at what point do we say we got to fix this. And I keep saying, people say, "Oh, the system's broken." Again,
then we have to fix it.
Right, the system works just fine. We don't need glue.
Yeah,
we don't need glue.
Well,
we need sledgehammers.
we need to break it. Yeah, it needs to be completely
dismantled and started.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's what this country's for. That's what our freedom is supposed to be for. So even if this country, which I believe was founded, with a two-party system and was founded for economic purposes, and economic and racism and sexism sort of tied into it. Okay, well, except the thing is we have a living document that's a constitution, and it talks about equality for all, and it talks about methods of breaking the system and rebuilding the system. So we don't even have to break that. If we just go back to that and we put it in the light of contemporary society where all people are equal, and
well, that's
and
part. I think that's part of the problem.
All these
too.
other things.
When that was written, when it says all men are created equal, they still thought that Africans were 3/5 of a human being.
Right.
So, American natives, blacks, any women weren't even they weren't in part of the discussion. They meant white men, and not even all white men.
Yeah.
Rich white men.
But the concept, if you take out that concept and you just put in the fact and you say all of us, people, then the concepts are good and they're there.
Right.
But we have to, the direction that things have gone have been, and even I taught American government for a year, several years ago, and there were so many things that I had forgotten, and the differences of like how far we've come as far as like policing goes and the authority of the government for surveillance and policing, like so much of what they can do now is so far from what was ever intended. Like it's
right. Well, the police force was originally started to capture runaway slaves.
Oh, wow.
Officer is officer overseer. It's kind of where the evolution came from. So when the slaves were eventually freed, you had all these people whose jobs had to be reassigned, essentially, and the duties of their jobs had to be reassigned. It continues to operate the same way it always has.
The Proclamation of Freedom, they should have disbanded the entire system then.
Correct. But it didn't. Yeah. And here we are now.
Still.
Right. And like we talked about at the top of the show, we keep saying how this was all so long ago, but it wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, blacks and women just got the right to vote, less than 100 years ago.
Yep.
So these ideals, there are men alive who held who held fire hoses against black people. Yes. There are people alive who literally suck dogs on black people. Yes. So if these people are still alive, that hatred has gotten passed down to their children, and then along to their children. And the cycle just continues. Every once in a while, you have that one or two family members in a family that says, you know what, nah, my family's kind of fucked up.
Yes.
There was a point in there's a poet who came to the venue once, young white man, who did a poem about having to realize how racist his family is, and how hard it is for him to even be around them anymore. It's heartbreaking, but when it's that deep, it's
almost like a mental illness.
It is a mental illness, and it's scary because you kind of wonder, like, will the cycle ever break? Will it ever break? And I do see things getting better. Clearly, things are getting better, but
I don't understand why more people aren't angry. That's what I don't understand.
Right.
It's just, I went through a few months, probably the end of the summer. I was just so angry all the time.
Right.
I was just so angry because nothing is being done and nothing's changing. And, like we were talking earlier, a movement seems to get going and then it just kind of fizzles. And I feel like we need to protest. People need to be standing out and holding signs about equality every weekend.
Right.
Every weekend. To always be there and to be heard, so that legislature and government officials realize it's not going to go away.
Right.
That no matter who gets elected, it's not going to go away.
It's also important that I think we show our legislators that it's not just the oppressed who are upset about this.
Exactly.
And I think that's probably even more important. I think it's important for people who aren't black, people who aren't the targeted oppressed group, to come out and voice their frustrations too. Because until that happens, it becomes like what we said earlier when we were talking off mic, where the oppressors know that
Yes.
the protests are only
They'll
going to
get
last a
tired.
handful of days.
Mhm.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, well, the cops kill
Mhm.
XYZ person in such and such city. They're going to march. They're going to block a
Mhm.
couple streets. It'll be fine. Give it a few days.
And all the marginalized groups, we all have to stand together, and we all have
Right.
to make it happen and not just stop.
Right.
Um,
And I think another thing that needs to stop is this whole. I know you see it on social media, where everybody had such and such filter up for such and such tragedy. Where's the filter for this tragedy? And how come this
Yeah.
tragedy is not as
Yeah.
important? How come nobody's reporting on this? This planet, at any given moment, there is an atrocity being committed against a marginalized group. There is terrorism. There is corrupt government. We could not possibly
No, we'd be
possibly
changing.
focus on every single issue that's going on. Not one, at least I'm going to speak for me personally, not one issue is any less important than another. Haiti is in a horrible condition right now. Horrible. Arguably worse condition than most other locations that have gotten hit by this hurricane. But that doesn't make the tragedy of the people who have lost homes here and in other countries any less tragic.
Exactly.
And just because we're concerned with home right now doesn't mean that we don't care about Haiti or the Dominican Republic or anywhere else that's going through a flood or any kind of tragedy.
And, you know, as much as I do feel like the future is about peace and it's about globalization, and that's how we're going to survive as a planet.
Right.
Having said that, though, we have a lot of problems in our front yard.
Right.
You know, we have, you know, homeless everywhere. We have, you know, obviously a lot of political issues, you know, and inequalities. And, you know, I feel like we kind of have to fix things here too, you know, make sure that we do that before we can even help, because we can't help everything. And how can we go to other places and offer advice and offer help when we can't even help our own neighbors, you know?
Right. It's like when you're in a plane and something happens, they always tell you to put the oxygen mask on the child first and then on yourself. So, I mean, on yourself first, forgive me, on yourself first and then on the child.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because if you're in the middle of putting the mask on the kid first and you pass out, then what? You got to make sure you're okay first before you. Charity starts in the home, essentially. And we we have problems right in our front yard, which directly it spiderwebs out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I believe that those types of things are infectious. You know, when you see kindness, it in turn makes you want to act kind.
Absolutely.
And I think we need more of that in general.
And we need to show more of that too, you know, like on social media and in the news.
Right.
And not just talk about all
The
the terrible
desperation,
things
right.
and the desperation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important that I firmly believe that we live in a great country. I don't think that this country is by any means the worst country in the world. There are places that I would not want to live. I would not North Korea, for example, not a place I want to go. But we have been living under this myth that America is the greatest country in the world, and we're not. We are absolutely not. We can't get along with ourselves. So. And the other countries see this, and
it's no longer about being the greatest country anyway. It's about saving
this planet, right?
And seeing equality throughout the entire planet. And
I joke that it would take an alien invasion for that to happen. Yeah. It would take a threat to us as a planet for us to come together as a planet, some Independence Day shit.
Somebody was saying something about that with like the floods were coming in or the hurricane. We thought we were going to hit by the hurricane and how friendly people were and they were at the store.
Bullshit. I worked in a supermarket. These motherfuckers, you would have thought that shit was Walking Dead. These assholes. That's bullshit. I call bullshit on whoever said that. Friendly my ass.
Well, my point was, sorry that they were not friendly, was that, you know, I come from an area that, the deep south, you know, along the Gulf of Mexico that would get hit by a lot of hurricanes. And so you would, in storm season, people are suddenly friendly. It's like a storm brings them together. As a matter of fact, Annie Dillard, I think her name is, wrote an award-winning short story, I can't remember the name of it, you know, about how storms bring people together and they're suddenly neighbors who never talk to each other are sandbagging, you know, making sandbags together and, and whatever. How it like forces when humans have a crisis, suddenly they're willing to do a helping hand, and then they're willing to try to fix something.
Because we were
And
all
I feel
American
like,
after 9/11.
Yeah,
little flags on our cars.
Exactly, and it shouldn't take a crisis.
I can't remember the last time I saw somebody hanging an American flag on their car. Not like it was during 9/11.
Yeah, but the issue with that now is that usually indicates a Trump supporter. So I see an American flag. Well,
isn't that sad?
But see, for me, I don't really have, I guess, that much respect for the American flag.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, I have no respect, and I don't stand or do anything for the pledge. I haven't for a long time before this, just because, I feel like it represents slavery. It represents genocide. It represents a lot of horrible things. And not just,
Our country was built on the backs of slavery, on genocide. Forgive me, my throat's really dry tonight. Nothing about our history says unity, says love, says anything that we claim we stand for. But I don't think it's too late for us at all. That could be wishful thinking. That could just be me as a hopeless romantic, hoping for the best for us. But our patterns and our history doesn't bode well. Right, doesn't bode well for our future. But I'd hate to end on such a dark and heavy note, but that is the end of our 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Can you believe that?
We didn't even get to Halloween.
I know, we didn't get to talk about Halloween. But, well, we got exactly... Nope, it looks like we're over now. Yeah, we are over our hour. You have been listening to the Chocolate Milk and Waffles Show. I have been George, and I have been here with Lisa Kendrick. Lisa, thank you again for being here. We'll have to have you back on the show. Maybe we can get to Halloween then.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what month it is.
Oh, okay, that's true. We can talk about Halloween anytime.
Hello, my name's George. Nice to meet you. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for listening, and we are out of here. It's kind of hard for me to do the closeout without Terrell, but we do what we do because we includes you. Good night, Internet.